Imagine a colleague you respect walks into your office, looks you straight in the eye, and gives you feedback so direct and honest, it stops you cold. It's not a constructive critique. It's not a gentle suggestion. It's a direct, unfiltered observation about a leadership blind spot you didn't even know you had. What do? Do you get defensive? Dismiss it as, well, that's just their opinion? Or do you have the courage to sit in that intense discomfort and let it change how you lead? Unknowingly, most executives spend decades with invisible blind spots in the boardroom without realizing the root cause didn't start in their career. It started in their childhood living room. Today, I'm sharing a true story from my book, How Did My Family Get in My Office? It's about a real-life leader named Ryan, whose unconscious childhood wounds were quietly sabotaging his leadership, and how he learned to lean into this hard feedback that transformed how he leads. It all started with the moment he calls the 2x4 moment. By all accounts and metrics, Ryan was a successful startup leader. He was thriving. Until one day when he was in conversation with his co-founder looked at him and said 6 words he never saw coming. "Ryan, you are always so negative." Now, most high-performing leaders would push back. They'd explain it away as stress or defend themselves. Ryan didn't do that. He had the emotional courage to stay in the discomfort of the feedback. He described that moment to me like this. He said, "It was like somebody took a 2x4 and bam, hit me upside the head with it. It went straight to my soul. And in that exact moment, I realized he was right." Instead of discounting his partner's perspective, Ryan sat with the sting of those 6 words, and from that point forward, made a conscious decision to change. And here's where true executive self-awareness begins. Ryan didn't just try to be more positive. He went deeper by tracing back to where that negativity started. He looked within, and he realized this lingering negativity was an old defense mechanism from his upbringing. You see, growing up, Ryan was an only child until he was about age 7. Up to that point, he felt secure, seen, and valued by his parents. When his younger siblings arrived, the family dynamic shifted dramatically. The attention disappeared to focus primarily on his younger siblings. Ryan recalled that he said, "I felt like an outsider, like I was floating off in the space on the side." That pattern followed me into my adult career. I often felt overlooked or like I was being stepped on so others could get ahead. The connection Ryan made here was between the child who felt invisible and the executive who defaulted to negativity. And it's what I call the workplace family factor. We like to think that we leave our past at the office door. We don't. The dynamic of your childhood family is often the exact blueprint for how you communicate, handle conflict, and react to stress as a leader today. Now, Ryan could have easily brushed off what his co-founder gave, the feedback that his co-founder gave him, and just gone back to business as usual. Instead, he took that uncomfortable moment and turned it into 3 conscious choices that completely changed how he led going forward. And the first conscious choice he made stems back to an old saying, "Walk a mile in their shoes." Even though after his siblings were born, Ryan felt often overlooked by his parents, he started to look at the family dynamics from his parents' perspective. The phrase "walk a mile in their shoes" was deeply personal to Ryan. And in that phrase, he described as being eye-opening to how having empathy for both his own experiences growing up, as well as recognizing everyone, including his parents, have their own stories of what happened to them growing up. And those experiences are what often can trigger a rude or hurtful comment or disrespectful behavior. A turning point for Ryan was realizing that his parents had been raised during the Depression and World War II. He realized they had their own wounds they were dealing with that never got addressed. Once he realized his parents were truly doing the best they could with what they knew, he released the anger inside of him. Please allow me to ask you, when an employee or colleague says or does something that pushes your buttons, how willing are you to pause and walk in their shoes? To consider what pressures they might be dealing with. Now, this isn't about making excuses for bad behavior. It's about the perspective that everyone has a story of what has happened to them that can trigger a rude or hurtful comment. We all have a story. What might happen if you took the time to learn about other stories? The second choice Ryan made was to let go of grudges. Ryan told me he didn't feel like he needed to sit down and have some big emotional forgiveness conversation with his parents. When he gained perspective of walking in his parents' shoes, it helped him to let go of hurt and resentment and bitterness. And dropping that weight of angst inside of him gave him the strength to replace negativity with a positive perspective of life and his work. So again, I ask you, is there an old frustration or workplace grudge you're still holding on to that might quietly be contributing to a bitter attitude that you hold today? And maybe this grudge has been going on for so long with a colleague, you don't even remember what it's about. What would it take to let go of a grudge you might be carrying? The third and final choice that Ryan made was remembering people aren't stone, meaning change is possible. Ryan told me, growing up, I learned to be tough and self-sufficient. The only person I could depend on was myself. After his co-founder told him how negative he was, he used that same toughness to transform his mindset. He genuinely believed that if he didn't like a habit that he had, he could change it. And he realized the negativity wasn't just who he was, it was a bad habit that he decided to break. Again, I ask you, where in your leadership have you caught yourself saying, well, that's just the way I am, take it or leave it, instead of using your drive, your determination to change your blind spots? Ryan's story shows us that real growth doesn't come from another management framework. It comes from making courageous, conscious choices to look at your patterns and look at where those patterns started and choosing to evolve and grow. If you want to privately explore how your upbringing might be influencing how you lead and communicate today, you're invited to take the free Workplace Family Factor Assessment. There's a link in the notes below. It'll take you less than 5 minutes, and you'll gain insight into how your upbringing is influencing your conflict style. You'll also receive actionable steps to turn your blind spots into strengths. Here's to transforming blind spots by walking a mile in others' shoes, letting go of grudges, and remembering change is possible.